Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Micks Mowers. Got a little riding boy here today, Sunday. Bit of a confession actually. The new software I'm currently using for the second time last night, I did make a bit of a mistake, and that was the second part 2 video I was trying to edit. Uploaded the files onto the software and it didn't upload the last file, so had a few issues. I deleted them off of the software. It deleted off the SD card. So I've lost part 2, which is the paint job. Which is not an extensive video, but wanted to see how I did it. But either way, I can show you how it's turned out. But that video's lost, so I'll get on to do part 2, which should have been part 3. Put the lawnmower back together. So that's that. Also been out today and just picked up another lawnmower for nothing, a little Mazport. Doesn't look too bad, Dave. Doesn't look too bad. It's got something wrong with the body. I'm not sure, it's covered up with something. So anyway, that'll come up later on. You'll see that one come up. It doesn't start, so that was for free. Got a couple of parcels here. First one has come from my friend David, who's already bought stuff off of my wish list before. 2 seconds, I want to show you what these are. Now these are not cheap for what they are. They're about £2 each, which is a lot of money for what they are. And these are cable end dog legs. And these have a little tiny screw in them, so you put the cable in the end and then you do them up, and then that's your dog leg. They're quite cool. He's got me 1, 2, 3, about 10 there I've got. So just for, in case you have a cable snap, rather than crimping them, if the cable's long enough, you can literally just repair it, or if you make your own, even better. So they're going to my tray a bit later on. And I've got another parcel here, make sure there's no addresses, which there's not. Let's open up. Knives are? They certainly are, my little buddy boy. So we've been out today to put Granny and Grandad's Christmas lights down. She has lights outside her house the same as I do.
It wasn't big.
And we've been down to do that.
Where's your Auntie Tor?
We saw Auntie Tor as well, didn't we? Yeah. Or FaceTimed her, yeah. Which is cool.
What's it like?
I'll show you.
Hey!
So I know who this has come from. This has come from Snobby and Dusty. Again, so Snobby Scrap Picker and Dusty Blonde. Check their channels out. They're cool people and very generous. So in this parcel, what do we have? So we have in this parcel 2 boxes of Kinder Egg Surprise, which are Riley's only sweet stroke chocolate he eats.
No, I don't want your sweet.
It's a kind of sweet. It's the only one he eats. He doesn't eat anything else. He doesn't eat gummy bears. He doesn't eat any of that. Any candies. He only eats a Kinder Egg Surprise. So Snobby and Dusty have got my 3-pack times 2. So that's 6 Kinder Eggs in there.
I do it.
Hang on. Also, he has given me, this is for a future video coming up. He's given me, sit down buddy, some Chug door locks and keys. So these are the twist keys. He's had these up in his loft doing nothing for ages. And these are the Chub ones, so these actually aren't cheap, and Snobby doesn't throw anything away. So
that's cool.
I reckon they probably retail at about, I don't know, about 8-9 quid each, something like that. That's a guess from your local places. And they've got 1 short stub and 1 long stub, and that's coming up for a future video, which you'll see me do later, which is cool. And also he sent me a plethora box full of Rizzler papers, which I'm not going to show because I don't want to show any advertising. No, I don't want to show. Sit down. I don't want to show any advertising for particular products on my channel. Otherwise, I could get a slam against it. But anyway, Snob, much appreciated for that. So that's that. So you got your drink?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you've got your orange one. Yeah. Do you want me to do it for you? Sit down then. There you go. Right, it's quite cold. Don't squeeze it. Don't squeeze it. Did it work?
It's cold.
Yeah, it will be cold. Give it one more go. Is it cold?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a cup of coffee, but mine's too hot at the moment. So anyway, how long are we going? 4 minutes already. So without further ado, let's get down and dirty and let's get this lawnmower put back together. Okay, Riley boy's going to go and see his nana, and here's a finished paint job, what it looks like. It doesn't look too bad. This is the black hammered look, which has now been done. It's had 2 or 3 coats onto that. The stickers didn't come off in the end, or they came off, but they broke, so I couldn't save the stickers. But that doesn't look too bad. It's like a gunmetal grey. And then on the inside, this has had black primer put all throughout there as well. So it's effectively like a brand new mower. The deck is really good condition, just very heavily pitted. Hence the reason I went for the black cover, black colour. So what we're going to do now, turn that fire down to begin with, because that's red hot in here. Take the other one, might be good. And we're going to start putting it together. So I'm going to tip it upside down, and we'll get the front axle on, back axle on, all that sort of good stuff. I should stop at intervals so you can see how far I've got, but pretty much it's the same as I did before, but in reverse, but me not doing it backwards, if that makes any sense. Right, let's get on with it. I've got my old mate Bruce Pinder on the laptop playing nice and quietly, so I can hear him as I'm working in between when I'm talking to you guys. So that's cool. I can watch him do his repair on his lawnmower that he's doing. I might learn a thing or two. And we'll get on with ours, see how we get on. First of all, I'm going to attack will be the front axle. That needs to be done first. And that is with this little puppy here. Just got to remember what side the arm goes on. And what I'm going to do is lay that just in there like so. And then I want to cover this bar in a cloth or rag or something, so it doesn't scratch the paintwork until the spring is on holding it in place. Otherwise it's going to scratch it. So as you may remember, this axle, fun enough, just sits in here. It doesn't actually do a great deal. Now I'm suspicious I'm not actually missing a piece on here. But until I get it all back together I won't know. But I am suspicious there's actually a bit missing, like a little collar or something that sits in there. I don't have anything in my parts tray to suggest I do. But once I hooked up the hooked it all up, we should know. I think this collar just sits into here and holds it flush. And that's what I think happens, like so. But I will cross that bridge as and when I get to it. It just doesn't quite seem to be, you know, as good as it should do. But either way, once I get the spring on the other side, that'll put the tension back onto this, and then I can just determine if a bit is missing. But I'm just a bit suspicious, that's all. I don't think there is, but we shall see. Right, so I've got the axle on, and it's just laid in place as I showed. I've done nothing more to it. And then I've got to put this spring on now, which will be a bit tricky. And don't forget, this goes on this way and then gets pulled back over this little tiny knob. And then all I'm going to do carefully is try to bring that spring back so it sits onto there without damaging the paintwork any. If I can. There it goes. Retract the pull cord, and that's that spring on. And once I hook it up to the back drive on the axle, that should be fine. So I just want to make sure it's not touching any paint for now. The paint, although it's dry, is not hardened as to its full strength. But now that's on, that won't go too far, and it does compress exactly how it should do. So next we'll turn it back over and we'll start to get to work on the back axle. Okay, so I've turned the mower around because now we're working on the back axle. And if you seem to remember, I did suggest in another video that this may need to be moved slightly because the plastic cover that goes on it is either the wrong one or it's been bent. Not quite sure which. So to put this on, you've got a little tiny metal bar here which goes in this hole here. So you need to just sort of feed it into there whilst at the same time making sure you pull the height adjustment lever out so don't scratch the paintwork. And it's a bit of jiggery pokery, but eventually it will all go in together, he says. Like so, and like so, and then you can then lock that height adjustment into one of the holes so it doesn't scratch. So that's the axle in place. I'm going to secure it with the four 8mm bolts first. That will secure the axle, and therefore it won't keep jumping out and scratching this paintwork, which I don't think I have scratched. And then we'll push on to the next bit. So I need to get my tray. I need my D-walks and my socket set. So I do apologise for deleting the other video. It wasn't intentional. This is why I need a tool trolley to have all my bits and tools next to me, because this is not working for me. So I'll have to try and get one cheap or buy a new one or the other. Right, so I want a thin bar. How much juice is in there? 2 bars, that should be enough for today. I don't generally charge this up very much. I'm sure it's the 8mm I want. And these are the 8mm screws, and these little tiny U-plates. They go on like so. And that will just literally secure the axle down. Now I'm going to put all 4 in first before I wind them down, just to make sure they're in place. Bruce said he's nearly done his video, but I'm a bit suspicious because he's still got another 12.5 minutes left on his, so I think he might come up against a problem in a minute. I don't know. He said he was nearly done. He's beating me. That one in there. Don't go too hard, you just shear these off. And that's that. So that's the axle now secured in its position, and we're now going to move on to the next step. Okay, next step is I want to put in the bit to the drive, which is this little tiny bung goes in first. It's got a countersink bit on it, and a bit that sits in there. It has that bit, then it'll have a spring, then it'll have a big washer, which I think is that big boy, and then it'll have a 10mm nut, which is that one there. And I'm going to do it up fairly tight all the way, because that will give me the tension on my belt once I fit the belt on. So I'm going to nip it up just a little tiny bit, just to start it off, and then once I get the belt on, I will secure it down a bit more, just enough just so that's not going to go anywhere. That's just the purpose of it. So that's that. Happy with that. What's next, do we think? I think we'll go for the belt to go on, and we'll connect up the height adjustment on the circlip this end, put that in place, and then we can turn it over to put the engine on, all that sort of good stuff. Okay, I'll try and get a bit more light on there for you so you can see what's going on. Hopefully that will be okay for you, not too much glare. And all we're going to do is, this has got a height adjustment on it, and by pulling the wheels backwards or forwards, and with the adjusting the height adjustment on this side, my other side, I can pull that back, and then that will then sit in that little tiny hole just down here. There's a hole here, so lift the height adjustment up and take it back and get it so that that bar sits all the way in. Once you've got it halfway in, I can use a pry bar or something similar. To pry that in, like so. And then if you remember, I had that funny little circlip. Now these can be absolute pickles. And all they do is they just drop down that side of it, but this face edge against it. So what I tend to do is get a pair of forceps. They tend to work better because they're thinner. Get hold of the circlip, just slip it behind, Give it a bit of a push, hold it in place, and then in one movement try and push it in like so. Once that's in, you've got to push the ends of the ears over, and that just locks the circlip in place. It's a fiddly, to say the least. There it goes. And that's that. That's now in place. That went on quicker than what I thought it was going to. And now the height adjustment will now work on the front axle and on the back as well. So now we've got a full height adjustment on it, which is cool. So now that rag can come out, because now that bar's not going to touch that body, and I haven't damaged the paintwork any. So super happy with that. Okay, so the next step will be to put the engine on. I need to make sure I get the right engine, which I believe is this one hither. I think. Oh, two the same, which is handy because one doesn't have a carburettor on it, and I want to pinch the airbox off of it to fit this one. So very gently. Yes, Riley.
Okay.
You can come in, buddy. Engine goes on, and I've just got to fit the bolts to secure that, which would be these longish ones. That's Bruce on the internet. You can watch Bruce. I'm watching Bruce.
Where?
He's on the computer. So I've got these longish bolts here, which are now going to go on. There's 3 of them, and those will go 1, 2, 3. Pretty straightforward. Push them up through the bottom. Bolt goes up through the bottom of the engine, and that goes on top. So I'll just get them done now. Okay, that's the engine now fully secure. I'm going to take this plastic tub out, which I use to rest the engine on. I have got a set of axle stands which Jason gave me, which I should start to use, but any other shed. Yes, buddy.
Your oil?
I can't remember if I put oil in it or not. I will have to check. But we can check that once when we're a bit closer to finishing. We're not ready yet. So next thing I want to do is tip the lawnmower up on its side. I want to get the belt and put that onto the pulley.
Where?
Up there, and then hook it onto the blade boss, and then just turn the engine ever so slightly, and that will then, fingers please Riley, I don't pinch your fingers in there buddy, that will then put the belt on over the boss, and then you can work its way up actually onto the main pulley, give it another twist, and then that's the belt on. Don't forget you're going to have to adjust that via that bolt at the back that I showed you earlier on. So that's how you fit the belt on, but it will need adjusting on the back, which I shall show you next. I've now got Polar Bear Ed. He's now on the old laptop. He's working on, looks like he's doing some valve seating there at the moment on his engine. So if you haven't checked out Polar Ed, check him out. He's over in the States. Doesn't do a great deal of videos, but it looks like he's starting to do a bit more at the moment, which is good to see. And he's a very knowledgeable person, so go check Polar Ed out as well. He's cool. Right, so this is now you can help definitely. This is now the bolt that goes on the back of the gearbox. And all you want to do is start to tighten that down with a 10mm. And as you do it, put your hand underneath, get hold of that belt, and just start to feel the tension come up through it. And ideally, it's got to be on there tight. No, I won't bite you. It's got to be on there tight, but not excessively tight. Otherwise, you'll find what will happen is when you go to fire it up, the drive will automatically kick in. So you might have to back it off a bit later on. But it does go quite a way down. I can start to feel the tension coming on that belt now. Ideally, you want to just be able to just about push the belt together, squeeze it together, which is going to be about there. That's where I'm going to stop for now. But you can always come back and fine tune that a bit later on. Okay, next is going to be this back flap. Now, if you remember rightly, I took this off of the other one, didn't I? To make it fit. Now, the old flap would have had these springs on it. But as you can see, that fits over there with about 5mm to spare. And this one fits over, just only halfway on. So these don't belong on here anymore because we have this centre spring attachment bit, which is what holds the flap down. This goes against the deck of the engine. and it's a deck. So push that flap all the way in first. Then I'm going to get a bit of rag and I'll pull that spring up and over so that it's actually on the deck but going to be on the rag because I don't want to scratch the paint. Let me come back this way a touch. Pull that up and over. Put the rag underneath it just so it doesn't get the paint for now. Push that all the way down and with a hammer, literally push it in flush, and then that flap will then work exactly how it should do. We can then remove the rag and that spring won't move now, and that's that back flap now in place. So that's good.
Daddy?
Yes, buddy?
I'll try.
We're nearly there. I've got to put the belt guard on in a minute. You can try, yeah, you can try, yeah.
Oh,
is that okay?
too heavy.
Good.
You try?
Right, next thing I want to do, I want to put the handles back on, which are behind me. And the handles are bolted on with 4 bolts, 2 there and 2 just there. Okay, so hands up. Admittedly, mistake number 1. I haven't attached the drive cable, and that could be costly now. I may have to take the back axle back out to do that. I completely forgot all about it. I'm hoping to get around it if I can. So what I may have to do is take the drive cable off of the engine itself, off the handlebars, which I'm going to do, and that will then free up the cable for me. In fact, this cable is actually shocking. I just noticed it. That cable's nearly gone. So I'm going to take the cable off of the handlebars, just so I can put a bit more freedom behind the cable. So give us 2 ticks, I'll be back. Funnily enough, this has actually got one of them cable bits already on it. So this has been repaired, this cable. It's not too bad. I think it's usable, so we'll have a go at it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and put this drive cable through. Okay, mate, I'll see you in a bit. That's going to go through all there. Okay, buddy, I'll see you in a bit. And then I'm going to try and hook this up on the inside. So give us 2 ticks just to tip the lawnmower up, see what we can see, and see if we can get it done. Right, so I'm trying to provide you with as much light as possible to do this. This is not going to be an easy thing to do, but it's what we do when we're trying to repair the lawnmowers anyway. So first thing to do is to get this little hook on the end of a cable onto this little tiny eye, which goes on like so, and then by the power of Grayskull there will be a little tiny eyelet somewhere. Just trying to locate it. I can't even see it. It's down here around the back. Let me try and bring you in just so you can see what I'm trying to do. So there's a little tiny eye. Whereabouts is it? There it is, just here where my finger is, just there. Let me try and get a torch in to show you a bit more. There's the eye just there, that little tiny circle bit. That's where the cable sits into in there. Okay. Let me try and get a bit more light for you, if I can. It's not going to be easy. I'll put you back on the tripod. And that little tiny eyelet sits. You've got to put the cable through. There's a slit in it, and then push that in, that clicks, and then pull the cable through the other end. And then get hold of a pair of crippers, a pair of pliers, get hold of it, and that goes there, and that's it. And that's how you you fit that. Now when that hooks onto the actual arm, you'll have more tension there, and you better pull that cable a lot more free up. You can see that arm now starting to move. So that's how you do that. That's how you fit the drive cable. Once you take the kinks out of it, it will rotate better as well. But that was a mistake on my behalf, not putting that on. But now it's on, that should be good to go. And then don't forget the little tiny grommet that sits in there as well to stop the cable from rubbing up against the deck. Right, so now we're back to where we were before I made the error. We can spin the lawnmower around, and now I can start to fit the handlebars onto this mower. As I said, it's 4 bolts, which would be these cookies. They look like this, and they just fit on the inside. There you go, and they sit in a little tiny recess and hold it still. So I bolt these 4 bolts onto the handles, and we get the handlebars all up and running. Right, that's the bars now in place. I've now got a Zippo over on the old laptop next to Rider Boy. We're watching Zippo. He's got a wish list stuff come in, and just bits and pieces he's had come in, which is cool. So I wonder where he'd gone to actually. He'd disappeared for a little while, hadn't he? Oh, is it? I've not seen him. So I need to bring this drive cable up now, and that's going to be going literally. If I go that high, I think I can. That's going to go. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Right there. Good spot. So that's got to go onto here, and then that all comes up and gets connected onto the drive. So I put up my drive bar first, hook that on, and then I shall then bring that back into its position, and by bringing this bolt down, it should give me enough slack in the cable like so, and I can then do that up, and that'll put the tension back on that cable then, and then hopefully that cable will work and contract exactly how it should do. But it won't do that until the cable is actually in the right tension. So let me get it done up and I'll come back. Okay, so that's now just completely snapped on me, near enough. I'm not going to be able to get the adjustment I want out of it, and the cable was broke inside. So that's why it's had a repair done to it already. I'm just going to try and adjust it back a bit, see if I can't get it to work at least. If not, I'll thread a new bit of cable through, which means that's going to snap. Yeah, there it goes. Which means I've got to thread a new bit of cable all the way through, which means the drive cable now has to come all the way back off again, so I can then thread a new piece of cable onto it. So give us 5-10 and I'll come back. Okay, hashtag pig of a job. Axle's back off, and I've now got the cable back off. I'm now going to the shed, get some cable. I've got these new fittings, haven't I, that came in just today. Funny enough, this cable I have it on it, which I've put down somewhere. It's in my tray. So I'm going to get a new bit of cable, thread that through, and do 2 dogleg joints, and then clean it all through with my cable cleaner, and hopefully this cable will be repaired. Okay, so got my old cable, which is no good. That's going to come out of there, if it will come. I'm going to have to put it in a vise to do so. Now it's coming. That's now gone and dead, but however, is it worth keeping that dog leg? Yes, I'll keep that dog leg. What I do with my dog legs is I keep about 8 inches or so. Keep them, because you can then use that to crimp the other end of a dead man's handle, so they're quite good to keep. So I've got a cable oiler, which I'm going to use now just to run this through. Let me just hook it up and I'll come back. Okay, this was given to me by David. He sent it to me via my Amazon wish list, and all you do is you loosen these off, and then you push your cable up inside, tighten them up, and that holds your cable. A bit of rag is recommended around the outside, and all you do is you put your WD-40 spray in there, and it just literally runs the fluid all the way down, right down out the bottom end, which is running very lovely now. Absolutely gushing out of there, and that cleans your cables out, which is cool. You then undo that, slide your cable out, and that's your cable now cleaned. Sometimes you can't do it, depends on the end, but it's just easier than putting this all the way in and it comes back at you out the top like that, sprays in your face. So that cable oiler is worth its weight in gold. So pick one of them up, they're quite cool. With that now done, I've got my donor cable, which is slightly longer than what I need it. And I want to keep this dog leg for the drive end on the engine, and this end's going to be my other end up near the handlebars. So thread that new cable through. Just take your time because you don't want to be crimping this and messing this up. Thread that through. If you hit any resistance, take your time because you don't want to like have just there's a bit of resistance there somewhere. So take your time with it and just slowly thread that all the way up until it gets to the other end. And then once it's done that, we can then start to manipulate the cable so that we can get it to fix. Okay, I've now managed to thread that cable pretty much all the way through, and it's now just come out the other end. So that cable's now in place. Blank this end. It's got to have the cable adjuster put on the end of that as well. That's going to go onto there. So now we have a complete cable again. All we've got to do now is fit it to the drive, put the axle back on, and then we'll worry about adjusting it up the top end when we get up the top end. Right, we're finally back to where we were before I messed up.
Yeah.
So now we've got excessive cable. I'm going to get the cable adjustment on. It goes on there.
Where?
Onto the cable.
Where?
And then that then does up. Now what you want to do is you want to adjust this so that it's at its fullest. And then as time goes on, you might be able to take a bit more adjustment out of it by going down the cable.
What?
Nice and quiet, buddy boy.
Not me.
Yeah, you're okay, mate, you're okay. I know you only tripped over it. So that goes on there like that, okay? And then as the cable stretches, you can then push this adjustment down to get a bit more out of it. So that's roughly where it needs to be. I've now got to deactivate the drive,
Try.
and then I need to hook up this dog leg, which is not the one that's given to me on my wish list. It was already on here, so this already had a repair. That's going to go on. It's not probably the best one to go, but it'll do. And it wants to be snipped around about there because it's got a bit of slack on that drive. So make a mark, and I'm gonna be brave and cut mine about there. And then I'm just going to screw this end onto that, test it, and then if that doesn't work, just shorten it down a touch. So you can always cut more off. So cut it long to begin with, and then you can cut a bit more off a bit later on. So where's my snippers gone? I had them earlier. Yeah, they do, Riley. Yeah, lovely. Thank you. They're not the ones I want, but
No bottom.
let's start about there.
It should be off.
Eh?
What do you mean?
Yeah, that's that. And now I can just fit this over top, screw it on, try and keep all the threads in if you can. If you can get it all in there, it's got to go all in, that's perfect. And then just do a little test run. So that's actually going to be, time goes into there, that's not going to be far out. I can fit it on just about, and that's going to be about right. In fact, I'm going to go a bit shorter. So I have still got 2 or 3 threads on here I can use. So let me snip it off, do it up, and I'll come back. Okay, that cable is now fully repaired. I've put the donor clamp on the back, which is already off the machine, and I've done it up really tight. That clips in. All right, buddy. And then we're now just going to literally push this down, down here. If you're getting that, I'll make sure you are. Yep, you are. Yeah, see a bit, buddy. And then I can nick that up. That should be 11mm on there, which would be in my extremely sorted out spanner drawer. Let's nick that up so we have full adjustment. Like so. And now when I drop that mower off the stand without dropping it on the camera and bring you guys back a touch, we should now be able to test the drive simply by pushing the lawnmower as forward as it will go, engaging the drive system and pulling the mower back. The back wheel should lock, which they do, and when you release the system they should freewheel, which they do. So that's about perfect. I might have to come back and do some fine adjusting, but that cable now is fully repaired and working exactly how it should do. So that's how you repair one of those, and they're cheaper than buying a complete new cable as well. New cable for that's going to be around about 15 quid, and those end bits are going to be about £2 each. They're not cheap, I must admit, but if you buy some spare 1.5mm cable, you can make your own up. So next we got to do is the dead man, which is going to go up through into there. Now, if I remember rightly, didn't we say that someone had perhaps had a little play on this? We get a bit of slack out of that cable. That goes up through into there. Pull that back and over the top and into that one, and then activate the dead man, which is now working. I don't like the angle of that. I'm going to change the angle. I'm going to put it up on the top because it's causing a little bit of stress on there. So let me just find a pair of long nose snips. They're a bit too big for what I really want, but they should do. Just want to change the angle of it. I'll end up fighting with this now for the next 3 hours, because it took me a little while to get it out last time, because someone had a little play with it. So I'll take that out. Take that out. I want to put it in the top end, and it just improves the angle, and it becomes more of a natural angle on it, which is good. So that's working. We won't be able to tell if that's the correct adjustment on that until we go to fire it. So that's that cable done. We have one more cable to fit, which would be the throttle, and that literally will go. That's all working. I might run some oil down that. No, it's running. So run it all the way forward, and that literally is going to poke. Let's just make sure it's all free and not tangled up. That's got to go into this throttle arm. It sits in there somehow. I don't want to go, but it will. Don't bend these as well. If you kink it, then you're going to have issues. It should just go in that hole, which it don't want to do. So I might just rim that hole out ever so slightly, just to get it to go in. It should go on a bit easier than that. It's got to go in straight. Now I'm going to rim that hole out slightly, just to make it just a tiny bit bigger. Okay, next is to hook up the throttle cable, which is this one. Pull the throttle linkage all the way back as far as it will go, and just with a little tiny bit of bending, you'll find that that should just sit in place. They're a bit fiddly, I must admit, to do. Once you get it going in straight, it will just pop all the way in, which this one don't want to do. There it goes. Well, that's now in. We can now disconnect the throttle linkage. That comes off, and then it goes back into place with the throttle in place. So I'm going to take them 4 steps out and move them back. That goes into place, just there. And I'll get a little tiny 8mm socket on that. I think it was 8mm, in fact it was smaller than 8mm, I think. Give us that one. Yeah, that's one. And what you want to do with this one is you want to pull this throttle all the way back, and with a torch you want to set the throttle to choke right at the top, So that's choking. And shine a torch in here, and that's actually not too bad. That's about right. So do that up. And this was a problem why it didn't run in the first place. That's now set to choke on here, up the top, and the flap is closed inside the carburetor. And by moving that forwards, it should open the flap up, which it does. And choke again, which it is. So that's fully choking. It could possibly do, we're going back a smidge more, but we'll see how it fires. It may fire okay. So that's that job done. So the next little job I have to do is this flap is broken here. There's nothing on it. These are broken. So I have a spare engine exactly the same down yonder. I'm hoping it's the same part. So I'm going to undo these 2 bolts, take this airbox off and fit the new one on. Okay, so sod's law, it's missing the part I'm after. Never mind. What I'm going to do instead, I'll put a new filter in here. That'll go up like so. I'm going to drill 2 little tiny holes, bomb, and I'm going to put 2 little tiny self-tapping screws in there, and that'll hold that shut. It does the same job. It just means that the person who buys it, if I want to change a filter, which they're not going to, they'll have to unscrew that to get in there instead of doing it the conventional way. So a little workaround, but it'll do the job. So let me put a new filter in there, get some self-tapping screws, and we'll drill and tap that down. Okay, I've got 2 little screws, and it's been drilled. And we're going to put the air filter in. Loving new air filter. Let me get a little tiny screwdriver to fit that. Got a little flathead. It is a Phillips, but a flathead should fit it. Yeah, it does. All we're going to do is push that back up. I've got some little tiny screws. It's not the best fix in the world, but it'll certainly do the job. And they've been drilled and pushed tight, so it's going to be as airtight as I can get it. And you can just put a little tiny bit of black spray on that, you know, just to cover the screws up if you wanted to, which I will probably do. I still got to put the grass guard on, the belt guard on yet. That's got to go on. Flap will go down now. We'll put some cable ties on to secure the cables. And then I'll come back to you, and we should be in a position where we can check the oil and what have it, and try and start this lawnmower back up, see if it'll work.
Bye.
Right, there it is so far. New air filter's been done. Just going to check the oil. I can't remember if did it all change or not. Looking by the state of the oil, it doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit low. I'm going to change it all anyway. But before I do any of that, I just want to try and give it a run. I've sharpened the blade, that's on. And the blade cover is on. It's not the right blade cover for it, but it'll do. I don't have the blade cover for it, so I don't have the right one. And to try and find the right one is going to be a bit of a pickle, but it's on there, and it covers well over 3/4 of what I need it to do. Yeah, it was all in there, but it doesn't all change. So I'm going to give it a run anyway, which will loosen the oil up and make it thinner. And then we'll go from there. HT is on. I should have fuel in the system. Yeah, a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll take it outside, and we'll give it a run and have a final look. I should bring it back in for a full service anyway. You guys don't need to see me doing that this time. Give it a bit of clean up, and then we'll go from there. There it is, all finished, all done. Just bring it forward a bit so you can see better. Looks much better. Looks good with gunmetal grey actually. I quite like it. Looks quite tidy for what it is. So let's give it a fire. I haven't tried to fire it. Literally just got it out of the shed now. So will it start right away is a question.
Daddy?
Yeah.
Hi, Papa.
Hopefully it'll work.
We'll try.
Let's see.
One, two,
could do a bit of maybe a new pull cord on there. Cool. Okay, so that's a Champion Premiere stroke BMC done. What do? A complete paint job, strip down, all that sort of good stuff. And for what it is, Hammerite is the cheap alternative to turning a lawnmower around rather than spraying it and all that stuff. But it has had the rust off treatment on it. It's been ground right down to bare metal and painted, so it should last. It's had a drive cable renewed, repaired and what have you through the dogleg Z bends, which you can find on Amazon if you punch in dogleg Z bend. They're not sweet to make their connectors. So that's really cool. And apart from that, a new air filter. It's got to have a new spark plug in it, and it's got to have an oil change, that sort of stuff. Very smoky at the moment, but it has been tipped up on its side. That's the reason why. I should give it a good run and let it burn off the excess fuel that's within the valves and what have you. And back in, all changed, finished, and that'll go into the old mower store and finished. So that's cool. Super happy with that, and for a mower it cost me absolutely nothing, so super happy. I've got a Honda in to do. I've also got a Honda Haterette that just come in, and I've also picked up a Mossfield something. Picked that up for free as well. So one of those three will be on the bench next. I haven't decided which one to. I might do the Haterette. Quite like the look of that. That's got a Quantum on the top, not standard 3.5 Briggs. It's got the Quantum on it, not the Classic. So anyway, thank you very much for joining myself, Little Riley Boy, on today's little video. Hope you enjoyed it. Put a lot of work into that, and hopefully it should turn a good pound. So thank you very much. Don't forget, hit the thumbs up, hit the old subscribe button, and whack the old bell. If it's your first time in watching Micks Mowers, it's important that you touch the bell and set your notifications to all. That way you'll get notifications as and when I do either a video or a live stream. But thank you very much. Look forward to your comments down below. And as always, don't forget, people, take her easy.